All the characters in the story are over 18 years old. Jack caught up with a woman in her 40s and shouted, "I'm coming!" A lanky, thin young man mumbled under his breath. He was carrying a huge backpack on his back and a large gym bag in his hands. Sweat was running down his face. His black t-shirt was covered with white streaks, and his socks and sneakers were soaked through. The woman didn't seem to notice the August heat. Dressed in a white t-shirt, she walked confidently along the dusty road, past the high fences of elite dachas. She had dyed, shoulder-length white hair pulled back in a ponytail. She unlocked the big iron door with her keys and effortlessly opened the gate. A white gravel path led to the house. It skirted bushes and trees and ended up on an open terrace with a large, beautiful porch. The wide paved path from the gate to the garage was covered with a green fence, so as not to spoil the impression of the designer courtyard. Everything was thought out to the smallest detail. There was a recreation area with a barbecue and a stove. A massive table emphasized the power and might of the owner. All plantings were designed so that from April to October they were full of flowers or fruits. The house was dark and cool. Amanda breathed a sigh of relief, put her bag of things on the table in the hallway, and went into the kitchen. Everything was clean and in its place. The large refrigerator built into the closet was working and was full of groceries. "What is there to eat?" Her son's voice sounded behind her. "Grilled chicken? Sausage, sausages, cheese, tomatoes, cabbage, watermelon, black and red caviar." She could have stopped at the chicken. "Maybe I'll fry some potatoes here." "No, it's not. I'm hungry. Let's do it with bread. I want to take a shower first. Will you go first or after me?" "Go ahead. I'll eat for now." The house had 2 bathrooms, but there was also an outdoor one. It was a whim of the owner of the house. In the backyard, there was a toilet, a shower room, and a shed for garden equipment made by him personally. A vegetable garden was laid out on which exotic plants were planted. There was a greenhouse with tangerines and other tropical plants. This part of the yard was very different from the front one, but it also looked not bad, like a strong owner. Naturally, this order and well-grooming were due to the hired labor. But when the owner arrived at his cottage, he worked tirelessly. He built something or helped his wife in the garden. He always rested like this, at least once a month. It was completely calm. The sun was baking the skin like hot coals in a barbecue. The tall, dry grass was burned out and swayed slightly. It smelled of hay and earth. Amanda stopped and listened, taking a deep breath of clean air. There was a ringing silence. Even the insects were hiding from the sun at this hour. She was thrilled and awed by such a simple and rare phenomenon. Carefully, trying not to break the silence, she crept up to a wooden booth with a black tank on the roof. It was put together smoothly and reliably. It was painted white. The boards were fitted tightly so that the joints were not visible. There were unglazed windows under the roof and 3 vertical slots in the door. There were hooks for clothes and towels next to the door, and a shoe shelf below. Amanda hung up her things on a hook and went inside. The walls were lined with mosaics, which formed a picture in warm colors depicting bathers in a Roman bath. To pour water, she just pressed the regulator on the wall near the shelf on which there were various gels and shampoos. There were washcloths. The water did not flow from the ceiling directly from the ceiling, covering a small area right in the center of the cabin. Trickles of water fell on her hair and quickly rolled down her smooth white skin to the floor. The water rustled softly, washing away the daily hustle and bustle, the burden of worries, minor grudges, and the long road. She was a deputy director at a company that sold construction materials. She raised her son alone and never got married. She rarely rested, but her son went to the sea twice a year and never needed anything. But this year, her boss kicked her out on vacation. "I came to her office this morning with a signed vacation application." "Pack up and leave," he said seriously, even making a ferocious face and slapping the paper on the table. "I don't understand." Amanda was taken aback, getting up from her chair. My heart sank into my heels. My thoughts were spinning in my head at the speed of a bullet. Is she getting fired? For what? Has she ever stolen? Who framed her? She gave her whole soul to this work like her child, on vacation. His face softened, and he smiled. "You're a fool!" she screamed. "I almost died of a heart attack here." "You should have seen your face." He laughed out loud. "It's not funny," she said with a serious face, holding her heart. But of course, she had already forgiven this stupid joke. I will die at my workplace. You will not get rid of it. Later, don't worry, we'll take you to the sidewalk. We'll say that you didn't reach your workplace. Oh, so is that how you appreciate me? Will you leave me to die on the street? Come on, I'm just kidding a little bit. You're going on vacation for a month. There is a choice of Paris, Italy, Thailand. Where do you want to go? Nowhere. Come on, you've been without a vac for 5 years. Why do I need it? I'm bored without a job. I don't know what to do. I'm barely going through the weekend. You'll survive the vacation. Everything is paid for. Everything is included. Even if you look at the world, you know I'm not interested. And I don't like it when there are crowds of people walking around. I'm very grateful to you, but I really don't want to go anywhere. I knew you'd say that, and that's why it's special for you. He took a bunch of keys out of his pocket. Where is the money from the apartment? There is no money there in people. By the way, but there is clean air, clean water, a refrigerator full of food, a cellar full of supplies, no internet, and cellular communication. Well, I'm interested in more detail. Do you remember where my cottage is? Of course, how can you forget that? Take your son and live in the fresh air away from the city. You will come with renewed vigor. I have some ideas, and I need you with a fresh head. You know how to interest. Give me the keys. I'll get there myself. You don't have a car. Don't worry about me. I'm already a big girl. Amanda grinned. Mom! Mom! Her son's scream brought her back to earth. She jerked slightly in fright and looked through the cracks between the boards. Jack was standing a few meters from the shower, with a chicken leg in one hand and a large bitten tomato in the other. What's in there? She shouted in a trembling voice. You said there was a river here. I want to go for a swim. I probably can't explain it. I can only show you. Bring me a t-shirt for my back. Which one? Yes, anyone that lies on top. Just wash your greasy hands. She washed slowly, groped for a towel on a hook outside, and was already wiping her head when the door abruptly opened. She stood there stunned for a few moments with her arms raised, all on display. Jack was also standing, holding out his hand with a t-shirt, his eyes bulging at his mother. Jack had seen many women who looked like his mother at sea, but it was only now that the thought came to his head that this was the standard of beauty. Turn away, Mom! She screamed, covering herself with a towel. Jack shut his eyes sharply and turned on his heel in one motion. Oh, Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't think of it. Damn it. You walk into a woman's shower. We need to knock, Amanda shouted abruptly. She pulled the clothes out of her son's hand and slammed the door. Sorry, I was thinking and I didn't expect to find you like this. She unwrapped the cloth and realized that her son had not brought exactly what she wanted. Okay, I hope at least you didn't scare me with your appearance. No, Jack smiled. You look better than my classmates. It was a nightgown with thin straps. He was lying on top of me, and I took him. What's wrong with him? This is my nightgown. What's the difference? Let's go show it already. Otherwise, I want to swim too. I need to change my clothes. Well, Mom, I can't do it anymore. All sweaty and sticky. I want to dive into the river already. Okay, just turn away and don't look at me. She quietly opened the door. She knew it was all wrong, but it was impossible to stop. She led the way down the path. Jack couldn't take his eyes off the sight. Entering the forest after the scorching sun, it was as if they had plunged into cool water. The forest was wrapped in the aromas of ripe berries and nuts. A woodpecker was working nearby with his beak. Bird songs and the noise of foliage intertwined into a single musical composition. Amanda almost fainted with delight. It was an indescribable state of euphoria. She stretched, spread her arms wide, bent her back. Jack's eyes bulged in surprise, and he stopped for a moment. I wanted to touch this beauty. Thoughts were swarming in my head. This is wrong. I wonder if she is deliberately teasing him or does not perceive him as a man. Should I tell her what I'm experiencing, or keep quiet? He did not understand how to behave in such a situation. Ignore it, or give free rein to your feelings. But this is Mom. You can't do anything like that with her. With great effort, he forced himself to turn his gaze to the level of his mother's head. Are you quiet there? That's it. His voice was hoarse, and he had to clear his throat. I'm just listening to you. What was I talking about? He stammered, just like a real man. He doesn't listen to anything that is said to him. I'm listening. You just caught me off guard. I've been thinking about your words. Which ones, Mom? She whirled around. Her face was a few centimeters away from Jack. She stared intently into his eyes. He was completely confused, and even forgot his name in that brief moment. She wasn't his mom. She was a desirable woman. A queen. A goddess. "Huh?" she asked. "And, well, about this." He blinked a few times, gave up, and looked away. He was thinking about how beautiful this woman was, and it was just the two of them here. God, what thoughts are coming into my head? He couldn't get rid of this thought poisoning his head. "I knew it. You don't listen to me like all men." "Who did I rise?" she wailed jokingly as she walked slowly along the narrow path. The ground was cool and dry. She tried to distract herself by talking, but there was still something in the air. If it doesn't discharge soon, it will burst into small pieces. There was also this moment in the shower when her son saw her in all her glory, and he obviously liked it. She had never behaved like that. She's lost her mind at this job, and she hadn't had a man for almost 6 years. "Can we invite the neighbors?" she suggested. "Latoon fry a barbecue. Invite me." "I don't care. Latoon call a neighbor. He lives here alone." "Whatever you want. I want to swim and read." They came to the river. A clearing was specially cut down on the side of the pier. There was a picnic area on it with a gazebo and a canopy for cooking. There was a boathouse nearby. The pier was wooden and not high from the water. There was a staircase going down. The area was surrounded by bushes on all sides, and there were reeds in the water. Opposite, there was a small island covered with greenery. The result was a zone hidden from prying eyes. Jack walked to the edge of the dock. "The water is crystal clear. You can see the bottom, and the fish are swimming." "Are you going to swim?" he asked. "I'd love to, but I'm not wearing a swimsuit. But no one will know anyway, even if the worst happens." She immediately pushed the crazy thought out of her head, afraid of it. "No, come on. You bathed as you wanted, and I'll go. I'll go to the neighbors, check if I need to run to the store, put my things out. There's a lot to do. We can do everything together. And now I can wear shorts and you can swim in this t-shirt." "All right. You can take a dip a couple of times. Just go ahead and swim. Don't stare at your own mother." Jack ran away and dived into the clear, cool water. After several hours on a stuffy bus and walking under the scorching August sun, the water pierced his skin like cold needles. He opened his eyes. It was light around him. The seaweed was slowly waving. The small fish were minding their own business. The most curious swam closer, interested in the new object. Pushing off from the bottom, he jumped to the surface of the water and turned around. Mom just ran off the pier and jumped into the water. She squeezed her eyes shut and pinched her nose with her fingers. Jack saw it as if in slow motion, every detail imprinted in his head. Moving slowly, she swam to her son. After climbing onto the dock, he spread out his shorts on a shalong and calmly walked to the edge of the wooden platform. He put his hands on his hips and looked at the landscape around him. Mom stayed in the same place and watched her son closely. The water on his young body shimmered in the sun. He was tall and handsome, although he did not have outstanding muscles. They silently floated next to each other. They were on the verge of what was allowed. A little more, and nothing would change. She's a mother, he's a son, and they don't see anything superfluous. How difficult it is to stop. She wanted her son, even though she pushed the thought away. He is also afraid to cross the forbidden line. I wanted to freeze everything and stay forever in this borderline state when you are not yet lovers, but you do not see each other as mother and son. Amanda was standing neck-deep in the water near the island. The pier was about 20 meters away. Jack slowly swam up to her, and they made love away from everyone. "No," she said breathlessly. "What are you doing? We can't. This is wrong." "I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't understand how it happened." He lowered his head guiltily, afraid to look in her direction. "Of course I didn't understand." Jack was silent. Amanda turned, put her hands on her hips, and stared at her son. He didn't dare look at her. "What are we going to do?" I asked. Jack just shrugged his shoulders. He really didn't understand what had happened. It was a shame. "Well, that's a dear. Latoon go home and continue." Ariam raised a surprised, uncomprehending gaze. Mom turned around and headed for the house. Jack stood there in disbelief. After that, their relationship reached a new level.